I sank to the living room floor, phone trembling in my hands, staring at the messages that exposed his lies. The betrayal hit like a physical blow, chest tightening, heart racing. Every laugh, every false promise, every careless word played in my mind. Shock turned to fury as I realized the depth of his deception. He thought he could fool me, but I felt a surge of clarity. I would not be his victim, and soon he would learn the cost of underestimating me. If you've ever been blindsided by someone you trusted, you know the mixture of disbelief and anger that floods every nerve. My mind raced, fueled by betrayal and raw emotion. But amidst the storm, I felt focus emerging. This wasn't just heartbreak, it was strategy in disguise. He had misjudged me, and I vowed silently to turn the tables. Patience and planning would be my weapons, and justice would be delivered in a way he'd never forget. I remembered the early days, his charming smile, the laughter that seemed effortless, the warmth I believed was genuine. On the surface, he was perfect, but cracks began to show. Dismissals, small lies, subtle insults. I ignored them, hoping he would change, wanting the man I imagined. But the reality was cruel. That trust, that hope, became the fuel for the reckoning I would orchestrate. I wouldn't forgive blindly anymore. I would make him pay for underestimating me. The small betrayals grew into a pattern. Late replies, ghosting, sly insults. Each interaction tightened the knot in my chest, and I began seeing his true nature. My patience thinned, and the anger became focus. Every dismissal, every lie, every subtle insult became fuel for my plan. He had taken my trust for granted, and I would reclaim control. No charm, no apology, no excuse would save him when I decided it was time for justice. My hands trembled as I gripped the phone, anger coursing through every vein. The heat of betrayal and injustice made it hard to breathe, chest tightening with frustration. But in that storm of emotion, clarity emerged. I would not react impulsively. Instead, I would observe, document, and prepare. Every misstep he had made would be accounted for, every slight noted. And when the time came, he would face the full weight of his underestimation, powerless to escape. My birthday should have been joy, but hours passed, and he didn't appear. Then I saw the images, him laughing with someone else, oblivious to my expectations, the promises he had broken. My chest burned with betrayal and humiliation, each image like a knife twisting deeper. I realized he didn't value me or our trust. That night, under the city lights, anger transformed into resolve. He would not walk away unscathed. I would reclaim my power and expose the truth. Shock gripped me as tears blurred my vision, disbelief crashing into fury. I had defended him, loved him, believed in him, and now, in public, he showed his true colors. Betrayal, humiliation, and anger fused inside me, creating a focused, almost tangible energy. This wasn't just heartbreak, it was the moment my purpose crystallized. I would act, strategically and with precision, to make him realize he had underestimated a woman who refused to be broken. My hands shook around the phone, pulse racing, stomach tight with fury. Each image, each laugh at someone else's company, each moment of deceit fueled a fire I couldn't ignore. But it wasn't blind rage, it was clarity. He had crossed a line, and I understood exactly what had to be done. I would not confront impulsively. I would plan, execute, and ensure every misdeed was exposed. His arrogance would be his downfall, and I would rise, unbroken and triumphant. I paced the room, each step resonating with a growing determination. The anger that once threatened to consume me became focused energy, a blueprint for calculated action. Every betrayal, every lie he told, every time he dismissed me, fueled the plan forming in my mind. Patience was now my ally, observation my weapon. When the moment came, he would experience the full weight of his underestimation. I would reclaim control and deliver justice, precise and unforgettable. Biting my lip, staring at the walls, I let every slight replay in my mind. Frustration transformed into strategy as I mapped out the steps to reclaim my power. This wasn't impulsive revenge. It was methodical justice. He had underestimated me for the last time, and I would make sure he felt it. Every interaction, every calculated move, every small maneuver would serve to remind him of his mistakes. I would stand tall, strong, and unshakable, the author of his reckoning. Night after night, I sat at my desk, laptop glowing softly, papers and notes scattered, cataloging every deception. Every screenshot, every message, every slip of his arrogance was a piece of the puzzle. My resolve hardened. I was no longer the betrayed woman, but the strategist ready to execute the perfect plan. Nothing would be overlooked, no detail ignored. I would orchestrate justice with precision, ensuring he faced the consequences of underestimating me, powerless against the plan. Each highlighted message, every screenshot, became a weapon in my arsenal. The trail of his arrogance and deception was meticulously documented. The thrill of having this power, of knowing the exact moment and way to reveal it, gave me satisfaction. This was no longer emotional venting. It was careful orchestration. Every lie, every betrayal, every manipulation would be exposed. He had underestimated me, and the moment of reckoning was approaching with inevitability. I reached out to allies who could witness and validate the truth. Carefully worded messages ensured that when the time came, the full scale of his deception would be undeniable. Every friend, every colleague, every confidant would witness the exposure. The stage was set. I could feel the surge of power and anticipation in my chest. This wasn't just personal satisfaction. It was a calculated, undeniable display of justice, orchestrated to perfection. In front of the mirror, I studied myself carefully. Every gesture, every glance, every subtle smirk was intentional. I had to appear unaffected, confident, unbothered. He needed to believe I had forgiven him. But behind that composed exterior was a mind alight with strategy and resolve. I was preparing for the perfect moment to reveal the truth, to show him and the world that underestimating me was his greatest mistake. My power, patience, and poise would win the night. Walking toward the restaurant, the city lights reflecting off wet pavement, my heart raced with anticipation. Each step brought me closer to the moment of revelation, where every lie and betrayal would be unveiled. The careful planning, the patience, the observation, it all led to this precise moment. He had no idea what was coming. My confidence radiated, deliberate, controlled. Tonight the tables would turn, and I would finally reclaim the respect and justice I deserved. Inside the restaurant, the ambience reflected the precision of my plan. Tables, lighting, guests, all aligned with the narrative I would unfold. I observed quietly, letting tension build, allowing every detail to enhance the impact. This wasn't merely revenge, it was calculated poetic justice. Every element was orchestrated to perfection. And as I sat, poised and prepared, I felt the rush of anticipation, knowing that soon, every deception would be laid bare. As my allies arrived, quietly and purposefully, the final pieces fell into place. Their presence, their subtle glances, their silent understanding amplified the upcoming revelation. The stage was set not just for humiliation, but for a definitive reclaiming of power. I felt unstoppable, the architect of justice, and he had no idea what was about to unfold. Tonight, he would learn the cost of underestimating me, and I would emerge victorious, unshaken and triumphant. I stood in the restaurant, laptop in hand, revealing every screenshot, every text, every betrayal. The evidence unfolded like a story of his arrogance and lies. Gasps echoed around us as he froze, unable to manipulate, charm, or deny. The power dynamic shifted instantly. I felt a surge of triumph, knowing that he could no longer hide behind his facade. This was justice, precise and unyielding, and the satisfaction was intoxicating. His confident mask shattered, his jaw dropped and eyes widened in disbelief. He had always believed he could charm his way out, but now, every lie was exposed. The panic in his gaze was palpable, a first real taste of fear he hadn't known. I watched calmly, absorbing the scene, knowing he had underestimated me. Every arrogance-fueled move he had made was backfiring, and he had no idea how deep the reckoning would go. The people around the table whispered and gasped, stunned by the revelation. Friends, colleagues, strangers all now saw him for who he really was. The charm, the smiles, the false innocence gone. I felt a rush of vindication as the truth took hold. The room vibrated with the energy of exposure. He had misjudged me, miscalculated, and the full consequences of underestimating me were now on display, undeniable and public. I allowed a subtle, victorious smirk to play across my face. This wasn't cruel, it was earned. The satisfaction wasn't just seeing him humiliated. It was knowing I had orchestrated the entire moment with precision. The power, the control, the justice all belonged to me now. Every manipulation he had relied on failed. Every misstep he had made came to light. I had become the author of his reckoning, and the triumph was absolute. He slumped into his chair, hands covering his face, ashamed and powerless. For the first time, he experienced genuine vulnerability. My words, my evidence, my allies, nothing could save him. His attempts to apologize or charm his way out failed completely. The arrogance that had shielded him crumbled. I watched with steady resolve as he faced the consequences of his actions, a humiliation long overdue and deeply satisfying. I stood tall, arms crossed, surveying the room. The shift in power was undeniable. My presence radiated control and authority, a tangible reminder that I was no longer the one being underestimated. The humiliation he felt was mirrored by the quiet respect forming around me. I had transformed betrayal into empowerment, calculated revenge into an assertion of worth. Tonight, I reclaimed everything he tried to take from me, and more. Leaning back, I exhaled slowly, savoring the release of tension. The storm of anger and betrayal that had consumed me for months melted into calm satisfaction. My chest rose and fell, muscles relaxed, and the adrenaline faded to a warm sense of peace. This was more than revenge. It was liberation. Justice had been served meticulously and without mercy, leaving me free, empowered, and finally whole. Looking at my hands, once clenched tight with fury, I noticed the subtle relaxation now spreading through my body. Each knotted muscle released, a physical echo of the emotional liberation I felt. The weight of deception lifted, replaced by clarity and strength. Every betrayal catalogued, every lie exposed, every misdeed accounted for. I had reclaimed my power. No longer the victim, I was the strategist and victor of my own story. The next morning, standing on the rooftop with the city spread below me, I felt the full weight of my triumph. The wind tousled my hair as I absorbed the sunrise, each ray a reminder of power reclaimed and respect earned. Reflection washed over me. The planning, the patience, the precision, all led to this moment. Every betrayal had been accounted for, and the lesson was clear. Never underestimate someone who refuses to be broken. Gazing at the skyline, I realized that asserting boundaries and standing for oneself was not just an act of defiance, but a declaration of inner strength. Challenges, betrayals, and deceptions would always exist, but clarity, patience, and resilience create empowerment that is unshakable. I understood fully that reclaiming respect is not vengeance alone. It is choosing peace and owning your power in every decision. Turning to the camera, I smiled knowingly. This story wasn't just a tale of betrayal and revenge. It was a lesson in self-worth and strength. I wanted the viewers to feel the empowerment, the justice, the catharsis that comes when someone underestimates you. The message was clear: recognize your value, act with intention, and never let anyone diminish your dignity. Stand tall, plan wisely, and take control of your story. I waved subtly, a gesture of encouragement. Standing up for oneself is a deeply personal journey, but also universal. Everyone watching could take inspiration from the actions I had taken. The calculated precision, the patience, the strategy. They weren't just for revenge, they were for empowerment. I wanted them to understand, reclaiming respect and dignity is possible, and when done right, it feels intoxicatingly victorious. Walking away from the restaurant, the neon lights reflecting on the wet pavement, I felt liberation in every step. Each stride was deliberate, controlled, a declaration of victory. I was leaving behind betrayal, deception, and underestimation. The city stretched ahead like an open canvas, my future unwritten, yet radiant with possibilities. Every step reinforced my inner strength, my autonomy, and the unshakable confidence that comes from reclaiming power. A close-up of my shoes hitting the pavement mirrored my heartbeat, steady, confident, victorious. Each step resonated with empowerment, a symbol of triumph over deceit and betrayal. The reflections of streetlights danced around me as if celebrating my freedom. I was lighter, stronger, unburdened, walking with purpose. Every movement echoed the reclamation of my dignity and the knowledge that no one could undermine me again. Sitting later on the rooftop, I reflected in quiet contemplation. The sprawling city below felt both chaotic and serene, a perfect mirror of the journey I had endured. Standing up for oneself is more than confronting wrongdoing. It's about reclaiming inner peace and owning your worth. Every move, every strategy, every decision I made had led to this serenity. Betrayal could no longer control me. Empowerment was now my constant companion. A close-up of my face revealed a soft, knowing smile, a silent acknowledgement of the journey I had endured. Every challenge, every betrayal, every calculated step toward justice had culminated here. The truest revenge is not malice, but reclaiming your power and self-respect. My eyes reflected clarity, strength, and resilience. I had emerged victorious, unbroken, and fully aware that empowerment comes from patience, precision, and unwavering soul. Even after the confrontation, I reflected on every detail, every screenshot, every message, every move meticulously planned. The orchestration of justice had been flawless, a testament to patience, strategy, and resolve. Revenge wasn't just satisfaction. It was art, precision, and empowerment in motion. Every misdeed was exposed, every betrayal confronted, and I was free, fully in control, and unshakably confident in my reclaimed power. Looking at the stack of printed evidence, highlighted texts, and documented betrayals, I felt completion and liberation. Every lie had been accounted for, every deception exposed, every slight acknowledged. The power I had lost was now fully restored, transformed into confidence and control. This was my affirmation, my victory, my reclamation of agency. He had underestimated me, and I had emerged victorious, empowered, and unshakable in every sense.